techniques in social analysis was to make it like science, which use, as you know, quantitative techniques and all. Now, for instance, I will come to that point a little later. Quintlet, who was a Belgian kind of a mathematician and astronomer and also a social analyst. He did analysis of social sciences early, was one of the early persons who applied statistical techniques in social analysis. Called it social physics, that it is like it is a branch, it is a physics of society. It called it social physics. And the kind of interesting kind of anecdote is that those who have come from sociology, they all know that Auguste Comte is known as the father of sociology. He invented this term sociology. And you have read the early history of sociology. Those who have read it know that this was Auguste Comte. Auguste was quite allergic to this term, social physics. He was very allergic. He didn't like this term. So that is why he invented this term called sociology. This was his term. So this was his dislike of social physics. Now, point is this, that as I was telling you, that this was to adopt a method of science to a different kind of a branch of knowledge, and that is why it is that was the quantitative imagination that you use quantitative in. There is a term for it in philosophy, also in theoretical sociology. We call it positivism. There's this called positivism, that you have a ground, you want to make your branch of knowledge to follow the rules of science. This is called the positivistic kind of idea of social science. That you go to field, you have collect data, analyze data, and so on and so forth. As if you are doing the same thing as a scientist does. Goes to the library, collect data, analyze it, apply quantitative techniques, come out with some kind of result. But this positivism in sociology had a very strong kind of influence for a long time, till the middle of the 19th century, because 20th century, I would say. When I will go into detail, but maybe we can have some other session for this. That the question was raised about the nature of science. What is science after all? Now, you want to make your discipline resembling science. Now, what is the nature of science at all? And in this, there is a very important kind of a book was published in the 60s. You may have heard the name of that book, or you may have heard the name of the author. His name was Thomas Kuhn, you know, and the book is called The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. Kuhn's idea was that this is science, it cannot be defined. His idea was just the opposite. He was saying, you have heard the word kind of called paradigm. This was Kuhn's word, and Kuhn said that basically science, there are certain paradigms that we got, and these paradigms, scientists work under those paradigms, and these paradigms are called. Within the paradigm, the scientists practice, he called as normal science. So I'm only making a very brief kind of presentation because I'll go to some other points. So what he said was that the revolution scientific revolutions take place when there is a shift in paradigm. There is a paradigm shift. Now he says that why a certain paradigm evolves and why it shifts, you cannot explain. There is no law, there is no causal, no analysis for that. You cannot explain that. So, in turn, inference, you can draw the consequence. In other words, what he's doing is giving a sociological explanation of science. He's making the whole kind of idea of science as a superior knowledge and sociology is following with science in a positivistic kind of a manner. He's just reversing it. He's saying basically science is a sociological. Why certain science develop and why people follow that paradigm and why certain paradigms are followed and why certain paradigms are shifted is basically a sociological. There is no logical kind of way of doing it. Early history of science thought of a logic of scientific discovery. Popper, for instance, Karl Popper, he said that there is a logic of scientific discovery. Who kind of abandons that logic of scientific discovery thing. Then, of course, there are other kind of development took place in the theory of in the philosophy of science and so on, which basically what I am saying is puts into question the whole nature of scientific endeavor. Now, if the whole nature of scientific endeavor is under question, or people have is now no one says that science is a superior thing. So what is the point of doing this positivism and what is the doing of following this kind of quantitative kind of technique and so on? So this is the broad kind of one can say the history. If you look into the phenomenon of the quantitative imagination of science. Now by that I do not mean at all that there is no need for quantitative techniques in sociology of science. There are pragmatic needs. If you want to do certain analysis, I want to know that what is the kind of background of the participants in this, economic background of these participants in this particular group. Now I have to do some kind of quantitative activity. I have to ask that what is your parents' income, and I then draw certain kind of statistics and say that okay, this is the kind of background. They are not poor, or they come from very affluent background, or they come from very poor background. So I am saying that these are the descriptive kind of analysis we do it, and we are doing it all the time, and so that is other part. But we are talking about the basic theory of quantitative kind of explanation, and this is the broad idea that I am trying to explain to you. Now you see that it is kind of known to any student of kind of social science that quantitative techniques have been developed to describe coherently not only the collectivity of life around us, but also to anticipate or forecast their recurrences in the future. That is why you say that, like for instance, you say what would be the growth like, what would be the, not only it describe the life around us, but what would be the probability, what would be the future of that. The future we express in terms of degrees of probability. That we say that this is the probability of, the growth in India, this is the probability of life expectancy in India. These are the probable kind of way of it. And this is how we do it. The concept of quantitative methods, therefore, have been defined in two related senses. That is, there are two senses in which we define it. The factual data themselves, that you collect factual data, you know what is the proportion of young people in India, what is the proportion of old people in India. This is the one aspect of quantitative technique. The other technique is the method, the theories, and the techniques by means of which the collected data is analyzed, and descriptions are made, and so on. So I must also add that the quantitative method is not only a set of techniques, but it also is an ideology. That is what I am trying to say, and I will explain what when I say that what is ideology, which validates the use and application of these techniques. There is an ideology behind it which says that we at the face of it, we believe that this cannot be lied, this is true, this is what reality is. So there are, of course, other views of nature besides quantitative. That is what I am saying, and sociologists have said that there are other views of nature besides quantitative or statistical kind of view of the society, as is evidenced by the opposition which this method has kind of aroused in some quarters during its history, especially when applied to human social behavior. So the 19th century kind of moralists, for instance, condemned the endeavor, the 19th century moralists condemned this endeavor to reduce human behavior to a statistical level. They say that this is the denial of free will, that if you reduce the kind of human endeavor to certain kind of statistical regularities, saying that, well, so many people will do such and such type of work in coming 5 years and so on. So this is a denial of free will. This was the 19th century moralist view. Free will of man as something which undermines the very foundation of personal responsibility and morality. This was the view of 19th century moralists against the quantitative techniques. Now I will come to quickly, but before that, let me tell you that yesterday evening I was had a long conversation with Vishwajit about many things, in which he expressed his very strong reservation about quoting Michel Foucault in various kind of seminars and so on. But in spite of his reservation, I am not quoting, but I am talking about Michel Foucault at this point. Because what Foucault has said is very, very important in this. I am not quoting Foucault, but I am summarizing his book, which is, the title of the book is called Security, Territory and Competition. And I read this. This is not his quotation, but this is my summarization of Foucault, where Foucault talks of statistics. That is why I am quoting. Foucault mentions that in Europe, from the 16th century, the theory of the art of government was linked to the development of the administrative apparatus of territorial resources. It was also linked to a set of analysis and terms of knowledge that began to develop at the end of 16th century and increased in scope in the 17th century. Essentially, knowledge of the state in its different elements dimensions and the factor of its strength, which was called precisely the statistics. That is, the knowledge of the state in its various dimensions and factors of its strength, which was originally known as the statistics. Statistics meaning, according to Foucault, statistics meant the science of the state. Alright? The knowledge of things that comprise the very reality of the state is precisely what at the time was called statistics. Alright? Have you understood it? So this is where the whole ideological question comes. Alright? That you have the term is originating from the affairs and management of the state. And if during the discussion the point is raised, I can tell you a little more about it. But I think you have understood this, that Foucault in this book, Security, Territory and Population, Foucault is talking about the origin of state in the Europe, that how it originated and so on. And in this context, he brings this question of the statistics and saying that the statistics was very much linked to the origin of the modern state. That is not the origin of the tradition, origin of the modern state. He's saying that how the modern state was very closely linked with the question of statistics, because statistics itself meant the affairs and governing of the state. Alright? So, good thing. I told his name. His name was. Belgian. Belgian. He was, as I said, that he was a Belgian astronomer, he was a Belgian mathematician, and he was also a social analyst. He coined the term, as I told you, he coined the term social physics. Bayesian statistician was among the first to apply these quantitative procedures to human behavior in citing the constancy in the number of crimes from year to year. But they said that, the number of, if you see the statistics, you could do the analysis, you find that there is a constancy of crimes taking place every year. There is a constant kind of rate of crime taking place from year to year. This regularity, he asserted, could be used as a basis of probabilistic prediction. Then if you see that every year there is a constant rate, then you can predict that the next year also so many crimes will be committed. This was his kind of prediction. So let us say every year about 1.5 million crimes are committed, using around last 10 years. So you can predict that probability that next year also that will be the number of crimes. So you see also the Foucauldian kind of analysis also, that this is in some way that these people are interested in crime and so on is also to do with the management of the government, of the state and government. Also it is linked in that way. Anyway, so he is saying that this is very one can use it for probabilistic prediction in the commonplace manner that today, these days, you know that automobile deaths are forecast for holiday weekends these days and commented quite feelingly, like Christmas automobile deaths is in US or in Europe. It is predicted, predicted. Now there are other analysts who have kind of shown their model this repulsion to this kind of statistical regularities. But I will talk to it about that. So thus we pass from one year to another, seeing the same crime reproduced in the same order and calling down the same punishments. We might enumerate in the advance how many will be forgers, how many will be prisoners. Almost we can enumerate in advance the births and deaths that should occur. The English social historian, there is one historian who is not a very famous historian. His name was Bose, B-U-S-C-I-D-E, Henry Thomas Bose. He caused, I am reading it, he caused a similar consternation by calling attention to the fact that year after year, about 256% committed suicide. He was in 1821 to 1862, in the 19th century. So after pointing out that, the consternation was caused because after he found that every year about 256 people committed suicide. After pointing out that among public crimes, none seems to be so completely dependent on individual impulse as suicide, he still observed that, and I am quoting his quotation, that it is surely an astonishing fact that all the evidence we possess leaves us no doubt that suicides are merely the product of a general condition of society, and that individual fellow carries into effect what is necessary consequence of preceding circumstances. In a given state of society, a certain number of persons must put an end to their life. So he says that in a given state, every year a certain number of people must put an end to their life. That is true, because these are the regularities. So views such as these have prompted the critics to speak about the tyranny of numbers. Critics have said that these are the tyranny of numbers, but at the base, at the same time, we should keep in mind the phenomenon of tyranny of words, which is known as mischievous, and the tyranny of numbers. That is what is said. Now at this point, let us make a sober assessment of one of the most commonly used quantitative techniques, namely statistics. Statistics has two very broad functions. The first of this function is description. As I said, that I want to know what is the background of people who are participants who are attending this course, and I know that they are coming from poor families, or I know that they are coming from well-off families, and so on. So this is the descriptive part of statistics. So to be broad, the first of this function is description, is summarizing of information in such a manner as to make it more usable. The second function is induction. we talked about induction in this last lecture, so you know what induction is, which involves either making generalizations about some population on the basis of a sample drawn from this population, or formulating general laws on the basis of repeated observation. You know induction, that if this crow is black and the second crow is black and third crow is black and the fourth crow is black, so they all crows grow. Then so from each individual observation we come to general observation that all crows are black. And so if I say, if I do a kind of take a sample of population and yes.
Explain it as
Oh, you don't know? See, in philosophy there are two ways of deducing, having the consequences. Deducing, logic. One is called deduction and another is called induction. Deduction, you go from a general proposition to a particular proposition. Alright? So general deduction means, you know, the philosophy books say, and I will give example from philosophy books. There is said, all men are mortal. This is a general proposition. All men will die someone day and die. Socrates is a man. So you come a single proposition. So all men are mortal. All men are mortal. Socrates is the man.
It's like all crows are black.
Therefore, Socrates is mortal.
Somebody went to Australia.
Yes, this is called deduction. This is called deduction. Alright?
From different objects.
Alright? As you can see that this is also a total in philosophy. You come to this in philosophy. This is called a tautology. Tautology. It is called tautology. What is the meaning of tautology? Meaning of tautology is that it gives you no new information. You don't know. You don't get any new information from this. Alright? Because the information is there already in the general proposition, all men are mortal. So when you get new information, it is from the induction.
Yeah.
You get new knowledges from the induction. Why? In induction you go from, this is a general proposition. This is a general proposition. And in induction you go from individual proposition. You go from individual proposition to individual. So, right, this crow is black, and you go on accumulating that this crow is black, second that crow is black, that crow is black, and so on. So you are collecting individual information. So you come to the general proposition that all crows are black. Now so here you get a new information, new knowledge. So problem in, now I will go a little complication. Since you have asked me to give the introduction, problem is this: David Hume was a philosopher. You have heard his name, Scottish philosopher. Hume said that this is induction. He talked about the impossibility of induction. Why? He says that how do you know that you won't find a white crow? Because you cannot enumerate all the crows of the world for all the time. Okay?